Welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Blocks, with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Hockey last night finally came. Regular season started. Man, was there ever – we only had 4 games last night, but man, were they ever exciting. I think there was some great storylines out of all 4 games. Let's get into each game, starting with our hometown Vancouver Canucks, who surprised everyone and scored as many goals during 5-on-5 than they did in 8 preseason games. So what stood out for you? Let's talk. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about it.
Well, let's talk about the man of the hour here, Elias Pettersson. I got to change that from Elias as I've been calling him, but yeah, Pettersson, man, that opening goal, coming down that wing and that shot and release. I didn't know if it was in. It looked like it went in, but I wasn't sure until that goal horn went off. But man, that shot, it just once when that went in, it set the tone for the Canucks. Along with that Goodbranson fight after a not so good hit on Dylan Dubé, but yeah, it was just an exciting game from start to finish. Markstrom was great in net. Wasn't always the prettiest looking, but he got the job done in net as well.
Yeah, I thought the Canucks penalty killing was fantastic. Calgary went they were either fantastic or Calgary's power play was really bad. I haven't decided yet on Calgary's power play, but no, their Canucks penalty killing looked great. Calgary went 0 for 6. Beagle, Sutter, Mott, and Granlund looked fantastic, killing off a lot of those penalties. And, of course, Markstrom played well. And they got some goal scoring. 5 different goal scorers, all under the age of 24. That's got to be positive, right, for this Vancouver fan base.
Yeah, like Jake Virtanen's goal, man. That's what the Canucks have been wanting to see from him consistently, driving the net and that speed to get around the defenseman for that goal. And Brendan Leipzig making the most out of his ice time. He only had under 9 minutes ice time, but they're finding ways to get goals from every line. The only line that concerned me was the Horvat line. They didn't look like their greatest, but we'll touch on the negatives coming up. But Godolphin getting a goal. I think the only thing that does suck with all the penalties the Canucks took is that guys like Pettersson and Godolphin got under 10 minutes of ice time. It's sort of crazy to think Pettersson getting the goal and the assist and still only getting under 10 minutes. But hopefully next game they can clean up the penalties. And they can get back on the power play. They only had the one power play last game. I think they should have had a couple at least. But yeah, it's very exciting to be here, a Canucks fan.
Well, the general consensus, even by the players after the game, was they had took way too many penalties. Pettersson even said it in a speech that the players made him do. By the way, the Horvat, Besser, Barchi line -2 last night. Barchi did score a goal, but Sean Monahan was credited for it. If you watch the replay, he redirects that puck right by by Markstrom. And I mean, if you're a Calgary fan, are you concerned at all? Like, I know last year 2 of the things that really concerned them was poor defensive zone coverage and a lack of scoring up front. You know, James Neal on the third line, I can't see this happening for, too long going into the season, as they need goals, and that's why they signed him.
Yeah. Like I know Neal got moved up to the first line in the third period, but I know Calgary's power play. It's one of those weird things. I think last year they were in the bottom half of the league on their power play, which is just strange with all the firepower that they have. You think they'd have a really good power play. But I know it's just the first game of the season, and then with the home opener against the Canucks there, I think we could see a different Calgary team. But hopefully it's just a thing that they're just trying to find the right fits with all the new players they've brought in. I know he had a little bit, not as much ice time, but Valimaki on the back end looked really good. He had that nice stretch pass to Dylan Dubé for a breakaway. And he also had a nice one-timer there in the third where Markstrom had to make a really nice key left pad save, I believe on the power play. But yeah, I think it's just the first game jitters, trying to get things out. Hopefully, Mike Smith can bounce back for them. As a Canucks fan, I hope he doesn't. Uh, but yeah, that's the one question mark I thought was going to be their goaltending this year, because they made all the moves. They brought in the new coach. I think they have the right pieces there outside of the goaltending to make a good playoff run. But yeah, hopefully it's just that first game jitters, and yeah, and they got to figure out that special teams. But the Canucks PK was just right on top of them, not giving them any time.
Well, and to touch on, I guess we should have known this was going to happen. I mean, Calgary's lost 8 years in a row. Their first game of the season. Now it's 9. If we had known that stat, we probably could have predicted that. But yeah, I think they'll bounce back. I didn't think Mike Smith had a bad game. I mean, he made several big saves when he had to. He stopped Stetcher on a breakaway, stopped Horvat on a breakaway. I mean, just look at the quality of chances the Canucks did get. And you look at the replays on the goals, like Goldobin goal, he couldn't find the puck at all because one of his defensemen was standing right in front of him and screening him. And by the time he found it, it was too late. A lot of those replays, Michael Stone and Travis Hominick seem to be right on top of him and in his way. And so I think those are just little things that Calgary's going to have to work out in order to move forward. He did credit Pettersson, though, for a great shot after and congratulated him on his first goal, which is kind of cool. It's pretty sportsmanlike, Mike Smith's part. So any final words on the Canucks-Calgary game before we move on? Because there's lots of other stuff to touch on here.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to mention on that Pettersson goal, it was great to see all the fans chanting Pettersson, Pettersson in the crowds. And also just to touch on their defense, I thought Troy Stetcher had a really good game. He had that really nice breakaway there in the second, especially with all the crap that the Canucks defense is probably going to get this year. It's good to pump them when they actually do have a good game from start to finish for the most part. I think having the Edler-Tanev pairing together, again, was really nice. Though I still don't understand why Edler has to play goalie at times. It's just one of those things that always happens. But luckily, he didn't interfere with Markstrom too much in the game. But yeah, we'll see how they do in Calgary on Saturday, especially with Calgary having that extra game in between against the Oilers.
I was wrong about that. They don't play the Oilers because the Oilers are in Sweden. So.
Oh yeah.
They do play the Canucks next. That's their next game.
Okay.
Let's also get. I don't mind giving props. We were kind of ripping the D a little bit through preseason. Derek Pouliot finished with a +4, and Eric Branson, great fight, +3 and an assist last night. That pairing, as much as we've kind of been second guessing it, had an excellent game. Hopefully they can continue to build on that. So Toronto-Montreal, the biggest rivalry of them all. Last night, 3-2 Toronto wins in overtime. Absolutely set the pace, I think, for a great night of hockey. It turned into a great game. Toronto, I know they're saying, was full of mistakes, but what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, so the first half of the first period, it was like all Habs for the most part. I think Kokaniemi actually looked really impressive out there. And Brendan Gallagher had a good 5 shots on goal. Carey Price looked back to his old self. He wasn't overly busy. He only faced where do I have? 26 shots. Sorry about that. Only faced 26 shots, but he had a couple really good key 2-on-1 saves. And especially right at the end of the third period there, he came out with another huge pad save to make sure that the Habs got at least 1 point in the game. And then on the Leafs side, I know sometimes defensively they got caught running around, but Frederik Andersen was also excellent in net, making about 35 saves. And then you had the big guns up front, Austin Matthews with the 2 goals, especially that first goal that he scored, just the far post and in on the power play. And, of course, Tavares scoring his first goal as a Leaf. Offensively, I think their power play, everybody was expecting it to be this great, well, really great right off the bat, but it took a little bit for them to get going. But I think, as they called it, a sloppy win for them. But yeah, it was a great game from start to finish, and especially if you're a Habs fan, I think it was pretty exciting to see what the Habs put out there, especially with that young defense. With scratching Carl Alsner and Thomas Wakanich last night. It looks like a good future there for Montreal, especially from last season where it was pretty bleak at times.
Well, both Matthews' goals and the Tavares goal, you can't really fault Price on any of those shots. They were all pretty amazing shots. And Max Domi had a great game for Montreal, getting a couple of assists. And for me, Montreal, their defense, just basically, when you rely on Jeff Petrie as your top defenseman, especially in a 3-on-3 overtime when Tavares and Matthews are on the ice, pretty tough to compete against that. So I wasn't surprised they lost in overtime, but you could see Carey Price after regulation, congratulating his teammates, trying to pump them up to move forward in that game. But Montreal, they look great. They looked like a team that might compete for one of those bottom playoff spots later this year. So Washington, Boston. In Washington last night, they raised the Stanley Cup banner. Alex Ovechkin has to kiss the Stanley Cup goodbye before putting it in the case where the keepers of the cup took it away. I'm surprised they pried it out of his hands, but Washington just absolutely came out flying, beating Boston 7-0. And, of course, Washington looked great, but got a little carried away with some celebrating during some of their goals, especially Lars Eller on the 7th goal, did a fist bump to the Boston bench, and Brad Marchand took exception of that. What's your – not only your thought on the game, but you can touch on the Marchand situation.
Yeah. So Washington went 4 for 6 on the power play last night. It's like I talk about that setup that they have on that number one unit is just freaking amazing with Oshie, Karlsson, Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Kuznetsov. Those guys can just put that puck in the net. Like Kuznetsov had a couple of goals, Karlsson had a goal, Ovechkin had a goal from his spot. So those guys,
Backstrom had 3 assists. So
yeah, and Oshie also had a goal as well. But yeah, that top unit was clicking. And heck, even Nick Dowd scored a beauty spinorama backhander on Tuukka Rask, who didn't play relatively well and really hurt my fantasy team last night. But yeah, the Marchand situation, it's such a weird thing to see Max Domi get the suspension that he does, and then Marchand do the exact same thing basically, and get nothing. He's in a play tonight. The league wasn't going to rule anything out, but especially from a guy like Marchand who took an exception to the taunting. I remember the year after they won the cup and their first trip back to Vancouver, this guy was doing the imaginary kissing the cup and everything going around. It's just like when they blew out the Canucks in that game. It's just like this guy. It's just you do the exact same thing, sort of thing. I know Eller shouldn't have done that, being a 7-0 game. It's just like usually once when a game becomes a blowout, you just put your head down, you skate to the bench after. So Eller didn't help himself out, but Marchand just dropped him, dropped his gloves and went at Eller, who didn't want to fight at all. It's a long season. It's like you got other games where you're gonna play each other. But yeah, I'm really shocked that Marchand didn't get anything.
It's almost like Marchand knew Tom Wilson wasn't in the lineup. One of the things for me, Marchand said that excessive celebrating with the big goal spread like that was last night, and what Eller did doesn't belong in the game. That coming from a guy that licks players in the face. So I kind of I guess in reality, I know I've seen this out there on YouTube and some of the other channels that if Boston doesn't want excessive celebrating in the game, don't let up 7 goals. Is the
Yeah.
moral of the story. Like they need to put up a better showing. Like if Buffalo comes out and romps them tonight, I think Boston might be in a bit of trouble to start the season off. So, you have something on the Tom Wilson suspension as well.
Yeah, so Tom Wilson will be appealing his suspension. It will be interesting to see what things go because I think, especially with us fans in Vancouver, we bring up the Nazem Kadri hit on Daniel Sedin. Forget if it was last year or the year before, where it was basically like the exact same situation a little bit. I know Daniel Sedin shot the puck, and Kadri came in basically just a split second after, sort of. But and Kadri got nothing for that hit, as we remember here in Vancouver. But yeah, I think there could be a couple games taken off potentially, but I think the NHL will probably want to stay firm on what they gave, especially with the amount of suspensions he's had in just last season. So it's just something to keep an eye on.
Well, I'm like you, disappointed that Marchand isn't even getting looked at. I think he should have got at least a game for that crap last night, but especially with how bloodied Lars Eller was. I'm not sure if that was from a punch or if that was from hitting his head on the ice. But definitely, it sets a different precedence when they give Max Domi a suspension for the same thing on Aaron Ekblad. Marchand on Eller gets nothing, and Marchand's a repeat offender. So, kind of disappointed with the disciplinary committee from the NHL on that. But finally, our last game last night was a big rivalry between the San Jose Sharks, Anaheim Ducks. Anaheim winning 5-2. San Jose scoring 2 beautiful goals, though. Thomas Hertl and Evander Kane both scoring highlight film goals. Unfortunately, San Jose didn't get the goaltending from Martin Jones in their opener, letting in a couple of softies. But what did you like about the game? Ricardo Kelly, I know, had a goal and 2 assists. Getzlaf is healthy this year, and that's going to be a concern for teams when they play the Ducks.
Yeah, what I first saw, just like on paper, Anaheim's roster was really young. Especially some guys that I didn't even know made the team, like Maxime Comtois, who scored a nice breakaway goal on Jones. But Anaheim got outshot 33-15. So it's sort of crazy that they were able to win this game. But John Gibson was really strong in net. Jacob Silverberg had 3 assists, especially a really nice no-look behind the back pass on the power play, I believe. And Brandon Montour also had a nice backhand upstairs. But the Thomas Hertl goal, Matt, it was like, I know the Evander Kane goal was nice, but Hertl's goal, is crazy good how he was able to basically made a fool out of Cam Fowler on the ice for the nice goal. But yeah, a lot of the young guys for Anaheim, they had Ben Street in the lineup as well, with a couple of younger defensemen in Marcus Pettersson. And I forget the other young guy that made his NHL debut, but he also had an assist. And then on San Jose's side, Erik Karlsson played 26 minutes and 48 seconds, and Brent Burns was just a little bit behind that in his debut. I think it was frustrating for the Sharks. They went 0 for 3 on the power play. I think they were hoping with those 2 strong units that they had that they could get something going there. But it's a frustrating night for the Sharks, who basically did everything right except put the puck in the net a couple more times.
Anaheim, of course, those 2 young guys you're thinking of, Carter Rowney and Sam Steele. They definitely have a lot of youth in that lineup. I'm just looking at it here. Sam Steele is only 20 years old. Troy Terry on the top line is only 21. And Marcus Pettersson on defense is 22. So those are some of the young guys on Anaheim. So those games went by. You had the Islanders named the captain today, and there was a minor signing as well.
Yeah, so the Sharks extended Barclay Goodrow 2-year extension worth $1.85 million. I think he'll bring good depth on the fourth line. And Anders Lee was named captain of the New York Islanders, which is a bit of a shocker for all the guys that they have there. But I think it's a big year for Anders Lee. He'll be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year. So I think it'll be really key for the Islanders to get him locked up long term, especially having a 40-goal season last season. And also on the William Nylander front, it was brought up that he's looking at his long-term future. So right now he's losing money, but he's playing the big picture, and he hasn't actually spoken to anybody from Toronto of late. He's just letting his agent do everything. But it will be interesting to see if there is an offer sheet, especially with all the teams knowing that the Leafs don't want to pay him $8 million, and with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner's situation, if somebody can max out Nylander and potentially make the Leafs lose a really good young player.
Well, that's all the time we got for today. There's 10 games on tap tonight. Hope everybody's team's either playing tonight or is getting close to playing their opening game. Remember to like and comment and subscribe to either our YouTube or our Facebook channel. On our Facebook channel, we post a lot of messages and up-to-date news when it happens. So if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to search us out on Facebook as well. And remember to comment right here below. Let us know about your favorite players, your favorite team, and we love the interaction from all of our fans. So once again, this is B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Bloxel with Matt Balzer, and we will see you guys all tomorrow.